Welcome to the Lane County Board of Commissioners meeting for January 27th, 2026. Mr. Mokrzycki, Mr. Bovet, good morning.
Good morning.
Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No, none from staff.
Any emergency business?
None today.
Okay, we are here for employee recognition then. Mr. Mokrzycki, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chair. The fun part of our meetings, we love to start off this way. I'm going to invite Jessica Gebb and Tanya Ellis to come sit up here. And then we have a team of folks here. You all know Tanya Ellis from County Administration, Jessica Gebb from County Administration. I'm going to introduce Nina Fox from Technology Service. We have a number of folks. Just raise your hand behind me. Nina Fox, Jim Garner, Robin Matheson, Royce Toker, and Crystal Tuller is not here today, but she was also part of this team. You know, one of the things that distinguishes the public sector from private business is the fact that we do all of our business out in the public. We are by nature transparent in the work that we do. These meetings today are in public and are televised. The agenda that you have, that the board has, is available online. All the materials are available for the public to see. This is a critical part of the work that we do as public organizations to make sure that the business that our governing body does and the work that we do behind the scenes is all available and accessible to the public. So today we're recognizing the team whose work has transformed how we do our public meeting agendas. You may all recall, but the public may not see usually how we used to do these meetings. It was a very manual, paper-intensive process where departments were submitting materials and everything would be scanned and compiled manually, and it was very time intensive. We've moved that system to an automated system that strengthens efficiency, transparency, and consistency across our organization. So from concept to launch, this project spanned nearly 2 years and required both technical expertise and thoughtful collaboration. This team that I introduced, led by Jessica and Tanya, who really spearheaded this effort, and the support of our technology team, and then the engagement of all of our departments, because our departments submit information for all of our board meetings that the board needs to take action on. So it really was a county-wide effort to launch this new software system. So this cross-functional team reviewed proposals, conducted vendor demonstrations, and completed reference checks to ensure that the right solution was selected. That's the first step. Make sure that we have the right tool that we're going to implement. Then after the contract was awarded, the team moved into implementation planning and system configuration, carefully aligning board workflows and approval processes with existing policies and procedures. I know that sounds like a lot of gobbledygook, but these are important things that we do. You think about all the work that has to take place behind the scenes for us to end up here today. There's a lot of people and a lot of process involved in getting all of that information together, making sure that it's accurate, that it's reviewed by our budget team and by our contracts team and by our legal office. And that's really important to make sure that ultimately the decisions that the board makes are are good decisions that have all of the information pulled together for them. So that was the process, and then the work didn't stop there. The team led extensive testing, staff training, and change management efforts to ensure the smooth transition before successfully going live with the public meeting software. These, it's really easy to purchase a software and just plug it in and say, well, let's see. But the important piece is making sure that we've tested that we've done the training necessary for the staff that are engaged with it. I've seen more times than not implementations like this go sideways, cause real problems and disruption to a weekly system that we have to do. And that didn't happen here. Not miraculously, because there was a lot of work. There was a lot of thought and intention, planning and work that was put into place. So even now, the post-implementation efforts continue through performance monitoring, vendor support, continuous improvement, all to ensure that we're supporting a transparent and efficient board operations. So this team was driven by a couple of key factors: really strong leadership from the outset, dedicated cross-functional folks who had technical expertise in the areas that were needed and operational expertise in the areas that were needed. So the leadership, persistence, and lasting impact of the work that this team has done is, I would imagine it will probably outlast many of us. And it was time to do this, and it really has improved the way in which we operate our board. So our board meeting. So I want to thank this whole team for their great work. It does take teams like this to implement change efforts to processes that are really critical. You can't have one or two people do it alone. You have to have a team, but it does have to be led by champions. And so our thanks and appreciation, particularly to Jessica and Tanya, for taking this on and really leading the effort. So we've carved out, Chair, 5-10 minutes to let Jessica and Tanya just share with you their perspectives. I'm kidding.
Let's start with the technical side too.
I promised that we wouldn't do that, but thank you for allowing this time to bring forward to you something that is really sort of a behind-the-scenes thing that we don't, the public doesn't oftentimes really see, but it's really, really critical, and we just want to make sure that folks are, one, appreciated for that, and two, that our public and the rest of the organization knows the amount of work that goes into making these important board meetings happen seamlessly.
Well, we are all lucky enough to work with these two every day, so I know this is not your favorite part, but I think we're going to pour on some accolades real quick. Commissioner Lovell.
Yeah, I'll lead this off. You guys looked embarrassed as I'll get out, so I'll just add it there. You guys, I think anything has its challenges, especially when it comes to tech. I mean, I can only imagine one period, one little punctuation point, one little asterisk that's not in the right place on the code screws everything up. And that attention to detail and the amount of perniciousness you had to do to make our lives better is so much appreciated. You exemplified our mission statement of the county to make lives better. Your lives were probably miserable during the process because of all the work you had to do, but you made our lives better and the county better and the citizens that want to check and make sure that we're doing better. You made all of that good. And so I think you all both and your team should be justly proud and feeling accomplished for this mountain of work that you've done and the implementation that you've achieved to get it to the finish line. So congratulations to all of you. Good job.
Well, go ahead.
I was waiting, but
Yeah.
I often, I'm going to look at Jessica first because I talk to you almost daily. And I try to catch you doing things right, and it's so easy to catch you doing things right all the time because virtually everything you do makes our work easier. Tanya, it's just a remarkable effort that goes into it. Because we sit up here trying to do our job without having to worry about if things are happening smoothly, and they just happen smoothly, almost without notice to the general public. And there's not enough that I can say, but I hope that I catch you doing things right on a regular basis and let you know that I did, because you do, and you are, and it really is noticeable. Thank you.
Commissioner Trigger.
I want to appreciate whoever decided this was an item we should recognize, because it's a really important chance for the public to understand why things take so long. Because it looks like we just get to sit up here with a ready packet, a decision in front of us, just make it and make it happen already. And it's really easy to lose sight of what it actually took to get us to the point where we have this packet in front of us and the information we need to make the decision. And it's because, as the administrator said, it requires the cooperation and the collaboration and communication across multiple departments, and it's iterative, and one department notices something somebody else didn't, and then there's a legal issue that we have to remedy. And so it's part of what we mean by transparency, not only to have our meetings in public, but to help walk people through all of the process and steps that have to get taken before we get to this moment of a public meeting. It's just so important, and it's the work that so many of our workforce here at Lane County does. It's just that day-to-day showing up, working hard, having integrity, commitment to a good outcome, but knowing that it's important not to rush this, because once we get it right, which might take a while, then we've gotten it right from there forward, and that really matters. So thank you for your commitment to getting it right. I know this process kicked off, I think, when I was chair, if not vice chair. Like, it's been a while, and it's not because people are dragging their feet or not prioritizing it. It's because there's so much going on all the time, and because it's important to get it right, and that means slowing down sometimes. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Mr. Buck?
Okay. I'm hugely appreciative of all your work. I see you both often, and I know that you're working hard. I can see it every day. And although I don't see TS in the admin office too often, I see you in the hallways, and I appreciate all your work. This process is so seamless that a lot of us don't even know that you're working on it. And you know, I just started doing the agenda teams this year with the chair, and it's just like clockwork. And I know that's because all of you have worked so hard behind the scenes. This will be great for us going forward, and really just want to give you a huge kudos to the whole team. Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, Chair, there's one thing I forgot to mention, and that
Yes,
is
please.
there's someone in this room who I've known longer than I've known anybody else in this room by a whole lot. Longer than I've known Greg Rickoff even, and that is Royce Tokar. Royce and I go back to not long after you came out of Chico State, and Humboldt State, I'm sorry. And all these years I thought it was Chico State, but Humboldt State. Well, Humboldt State's a lot nicer. But Royce and I go back a lot of years, and Royce's family is an amazing family. And Royce, when I walked in this morning, I saw you there. You came back out of retirement to join this team. What a wonderful addition that was. And when I said to Mike this morning, I said I was even more impressed than I was when I got up with him than I was. It's because of you, because he saw the light and brought you back in to bring some of your wonderful expertise that you shared for so many years with the county. Royce, good to see you.
Well, you're almost done. One more. No, thank you. I've been at numerous entities that have gone through a software change. And the level of professionalism and how smooth this transition was is noticed. It's unheard of, actually, especially something of this magnitude. Pretty high stakes when your agenda's not right for the public, and in times of transparency, that means a lot. So I really appreciate everybody, how hard you worked on it. And as Mr. Mokrzycki said, you buy the software and plug it in, it works. We know that's not how it works. So thank you, we appreciate it. And I do have to recognize, Nina, I think this is about the third time you've been recognized at some sort of employee recognition in the latest year or so. So we appreciate that. But Mr. Finch, thank you all for your TS staff, and Tanya and Jessica, everybody that was involved in this. This was a huge project, and it went, from our standpoint, amazing. So thank you. Thanks, Devin. Okay, next up, we will have public comment. Speakers will be taken in the order of which they sign up and will be limited to 3 minutes per public comment. If you wish to submit written comment, please send an email to publiccomment@lanecountyor.gov by no later than noon the day before the scheduled meeting. These emails will be compiled and will be included in the board agenda with the view material link. And first up, we will have Mr. David Eigel. 3 minutes will begin when you get to the podium. Or when Jessica gets back. We might have to pause for a sec. We didn't calculate for that. Our clock operator is still receiving accolades. Are you ready, Ms. Gibb?
All set, thank you.
Wow, look at that. Sprinted. When you're ready, Mr. Eigel, thank you.
Good morning. Social justice warriors have anointed themselves with permission to misrepresent dystopian fiction as documented history. They have infiltrated public and private institutions. The result is widespread promotion of falsified Oregon history. The Lane County History Museum has for years been involved in presenting falsified history as well as violating Oregon law and its administration. I've emailed you a copy of the large exhibit that continues to be displayed that falsely states that blacks could not own property in Eugene until 1957. Wiley Griffith had been a Eugene homeowner for years when he died in 1913. The Mims home, which is now the office of the NAACP, was purchased by them in the late 1940s. In that the museum is largely funded through the county, and that those funds were provided to document and present history, not falsified history, I ask that you insist that the museum identify and inform the public of misinformation that has been distributed in recent years. Commissioners Trigger and Buck have not only failed to act to address the problems at the museum, but have themselves actively engaged in the promotion of the North Bank Monument swindle. Commissioner Buck was the commission chairman when years ago county funds and facilities were first committed to support this racist and religious bigotry. Commissioner Trigger publicly insisted that we must reflect and atone for events in history that never occurred. After I described Trigger's public behavior directed at a largely black audience, in which she referred to herself as Jewish and espoused an us versus them theme, the them being the white Protestant majority of post-World War II Eugene residents, Trigger threatened me with arrest by security. Commissioner Buck referred to me as an anti-Semite. I subsequently requested a written apology from Buck and Trigger. Not having received this, I am now requesting both a public and written apology. Please correct me if I missed something, but I am unaware of any legal protection against a suit for defamation that a county commissioner possesses. It has now been over a year since I've heard of any attempts to promote the North Bank Memorial. I ask that the county make efforts to inform the public of the information they've been fed. Thank you so much for your attention to this matter. And I would like to say that I don't like to be a negative person, but a lot of what I'm doing in my work is to bring out that we have some really fine people in our historical community, people who deserve positive recognition, not to be smeared by people who don't know what they're talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up, we have Cynthia Morris.
Good morning. Lane County has a hotel tax that has accumulated with direction to be used for the establishment of a sports facility designed to bring tourist dollars into Lane County. These hotel taxes are ongoing and accumulating each year. And the vision of this Lane Sports facility is well known, and it has proven to be a challenge locating a facility satisfying all requirements. However, there is a Eugene location that provides an optimal solution without any of these obstacles. This property has been in discussion and already toured by multiple parties, including Travel Lane County, some Lane County commissioners, consultants from the sports facilities, and Chambers Construction, who was the original contractor and knows the facility well. Those who've toured the facility have seen the vision for how easily it could be quickly adapted to meet the goals of the project and within the current resources as appropriated. It is very conveniently located just off the Beltline at West 11th, with large retail, restaurants, and is easily under 15 minutes to both the airport and all local hotels. Several have asked for a creative solution that would not require the county to actually purchase or directly manage any real estate. In order to initiate and spur ongoing discussions, a long-term lease is now available, with an added purchase option on the entire site, adding 8.4 additional acres. Renovations would be easily managed from within the currently held funds. Modifications would be minimal with no structural alterations needed. And as the owner and original designer of the building, I would be happy to engage in any capacity, together with consultants, contractors, for the visioning, planning, and execution of the project. One of the key questions to date from all parties has been, who's going to run the new operation? If desired, I would offer to be the initial operator of the Lane Sports facility, assembling the needed team to accomplish all goals. I appreciate most of you don't know me personally, but as an employer, I have run significantly complex operations across the county, employing more than 250 staff on 24/7 shifts. As a developer, I've constructed multiple real estate projects within Lane County, and in keeping with the goals of all public entities, I have decades of experience working with partners to achieve the very best possible collective results. In summary, this concept solves the 3 problems currently blocking a successful outcome for Lane County. This gets the project moving quickly for less than the value of the appropriated funds already collected and held. This solves the project manager question for coordinating all entities during the visioning and renovations. And this also solves the initial operator question, getting the Lane Sports facility up and running. Please consider this newly proposed solution. Within a reasonable cost, best utilizing the hotel tax, we will create the premier regional tournament facility.
Your time's up, Cynthia.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Ms. Gebb, we will check online.
Yes, Chair, moving to our online queue. If you would like to give virtual public comment, please raise your virtual hand now. Chair, I see one hand raised at this point.
Okay.
Joe Tyndall. Joe, I have turned on your microphone, and would you like to be on camera for your comment?
No, thank you.
Okay, you can begin when you're ready.
Okay, Joe Tyndall. The last time I spoke here, I discussed the lawsuit filed to clean up Oregon's voter rolls. To settle this case, the Secretary of State will remove 800,000 dirty registrations. The population of Oregon is 4.3 million, so roughly 1/3 of the current voter list are people who died, moved away, are not citizens, or are otherwise ineligible to vote. 160,000 names will be removed immediately, with the rest cleaned by November. The 160,000 were established as bad by the research leading to the settlement. Judicial Watch, who brought the lawsuit, has also forced the removal of 5 million bogus names thus far from voter rolls in other states. Did people who died or moved away prior to November 2020 vote? Yes. Many of their ballots, still being mailed out, were submitted fraudulently and systematically. Their voting history documents this. Did non-citizens vote? Also yes. While the Biden administration and many states fought to block the discovery of unlawful ballots, evidence for fraudulent votes unearthed this past year shows the number nationwide runs into the millions. This election theft gave us 20 million more illegal migrants, including criminals, billions more in welfare and other fraud, violence in Minnesota, and compounded other problems like fentanyl, homelessness, foreign wars, and price inflation. Remember the election fraud lawsuits following 2020? Nearly all of these were dismissed by judges claiming the litigants were not allowed to seek redress. This is judicial corruption. Recently, the Supreme Court affirmed that candidates who suspect fraud in their elections do, in fact, have standing to sue. For those of you who believe the fake news narrative that the 2020 election was the cleanest in history, evidence has now established that you are delusional. This includes you, Lori, and you, Heather. Fortunately, Heather has a candidate running against her who is likely to remove her from power. Remember how Lori and Heather tried to censor, punish, and defame David Eigel and myself for challenging their woke ideology nonsense, including, for example, the fabricated and false claim that blacks 100 years ago in Eugene were prohibited from owning property. Keep in mind, Heather, you will not be able to rely on as many fraudulent ballots being inserted on your behalf. Thank you for listening to this rant.
Okay, thank you for your public comment. Jessica, is that everybody online?
Yes, Chair, I do not see any other hand raised. I will turn it back to you.
Okay, looks like we are good. Nobody else here in Harris Hall. Next, we will move to our consent calendar.
I will.
Commissioner Buck,
Yeah.
Vice Chair Buck.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar as written.
I'll second.
Okay, we've had a motion made by Vice Chair Buck and seconded by Commissioner Lovell and Commissioner Trieger to approve the consent calendar for Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next we're going to be with our county administration discussion and order on 2601-2711 in the matter of awarding a contract and amendment to Ameresco. Mr. Mokreheiski, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Lauren Blythe is going to lead this one off.
Yes, he is. We are in good hands.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Lauren Blythe, Director of Operations. Before I jump into today's agenda item, here with me at the table is Kathy Suter, our Capital Planning Supervisor, and I'd like to introduce Chris Berman as our new Maintenance Supervisor. Chris has been with us for about 2 months now. Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, so the proposed contract with Ameresco is for replacement of our failing and end-of-life central plant mechanical equipment that supports the public service building. Since its construction in the mid-'70s, the public service building has shared heating and cooling resources with the courthouse and Harris Hall. The age of the equipment and deferral of any meaningful improvements over the years to the plant have resulted in some vulnerabilities to the heating and cooling and related systems. As an example, in each of the last 3 summers during our high heat events, we've experienced component failures that required chilled air to be diverted to the data center and dispatch just to maintain acceptable temperatures for the critical equipment in those locations. When this happens, we do have to prioritize our cooling to those areas, primarily the data center and dispatch due to the critical systems that equipment supports. When this occurs, this becomes a sole focus for some of our maintenance folks and our TS staff. This last summer, our TS staff pulled all-nighters during the week where we had some high heat events, overseeing the equipment, and the maintenance team was there right beside them, trying to prop up temporary cooling solutions with portable units and whatnot. The key components of this project are to provide the public service building and Harris Hall, to provide the public service building with a dedicated cooling system and an independent fire sprinkler and sewage sump systems. This not-to-exceed contract in the amount of $17 million with Ameresco is, the funding plan for that is for an initial $4 million to be provided by the capital fund, to buy us about 6 months of workflow into the project. During that time, we plan to issue a tax-exempt bond for the remaining $13.1 million. And we've worked with bond counsel to get an estimated 20-year debt service on that to be about $1.043 million. That annual debt service, the plan for that is to pay for that with our annual capital fund revenue. Some savings that because of the installation of the high-efficiency equipment in this proposed project, we and our work with Ameresco, who is an energy savings corporation, As part of that, there are guaranteed cost savings with the high-efficiency equipment. The guaranteed amount, once the project is complete, is around $34,000 a year, and with an estimated or projected high end of around $42,000 a year in savings just from going to the higher efficiency equipment. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy to go a little bit into the scope of the project.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to present some details on this, although Lauren's done a wonderful job and I've been scratching out things as we go along. Pardon me in advance for reading notes. It's a detailed project and I want to make sure you know all the kind of bells and whistles of the project. So as Lauren mentioned, central plant equipment is well past its useful life expectancy and requires replacement. For those of you that are older like me, the old and outdated pneumatic equipment that's in the building can no longer be supported by technicians. We have to use the most senior staff, our oldest people who know about pneumatic systems, in order to fix the systems, and replacement parts are not available. So it's worth noting that. The system is also less energy efficient than the new equipment because it wasn't designed to be as efficient as the new equipment, and it does not meet current energy code and greenhouse emission requirements that we will be required to meet as part of House Bill 3409. So this sets us up really nicely to be ready for the both the measuring and the limiting of emissions and energy costs. So we will be putting in full metering on our new mechanical system. The installation of the dedicated cooling plant, the PCB, will serve both the PCB and Harris Hall, where you sit, and reduce the load on the courthouse cooling plant, which goes down periodically, and because we have to support the data center and its equipment, and we have to support dispatch. So people in the building tend to just bear with it while we sort out how we fix the equipment. Resulting improvements, things that'll be good. Lauren mentioned the energy cost savings. We're guaranteed the $34 million, the $34,000 a year. We project more like 42 or 43 in savings during current dollars. That may go up with time, and it does not. But it does not include the emergency and unplanned repair and staff time savings that we will also see and benefit from. So, resulting improvements. This is where I read the list. I'm sorry. Increased energy efficiency and reduced greenhouse emissions, very important. Critical resiliency vulnerabilities will be addressed. Improved indoor air quality, including heating and cooling comfort issues, enhanced airflow, which helps with illness and things like that. And forest fire smoke mitigation modes that are established. More fires every year, we'll be able to recirculate air in the building more effectively. One of the more impressive things that we're going to do, and I think I'm going to have a lawn chair and some snacks beside me, is the removal of the 180,000-gallon, 4-story chilled water tank. That removal is both significant and kind of spectacular, and it also allows us to build a 4-story central plant for new equipment. The chilled water tank right now is a source of energy inefficiency. It has rupture risks, and its removal, again, will create space for the new dedicated cooling plant. We'll also have backup systems from the basement moved to the second floor. We have some already with the generator on the plaza for improved flood resiliency. We'll have a dedicated data center air-cooled chiller on the PSB roof as a backup. So if we do go down or the sea goes down, we will have that. And we will relocate the below-ground generator fuel tanks to above ground and install submersion-proof tanks for improved flood resiliency. We'll also be, as I mentioned earlier, doing utility meters on all of our services so that we're both able to meter and manage energy savings and greenhouse emissions. and reporting on what is working and what's not working. So where our staff now go out, our facility staff go out and repair things after breakage, we're hoping that that's going to be minimized because, one, the equipment's new, and two, we're able to monitor and see where issues are ahead of breakage. And things that are not included in the scope of work, I know that these are the hot water distribution piping. That still has 3 to 5 years left in it, so that is not being done right now. And we're not doing mechanical piping throughout the building. That's very labor intensive and can be done piecemeal during renovations of the buildings. But the system will be tested and limited sections will be replaced if they are in critical need with the central plant project. The chiller plant, mechanical equipment in the courthouse is at end of life. But we have to determine what we're doing with the courthouse before approving that project and securing the dollars for that. So hopefully we'll be able to come back to you at a later date and be able to give you an answer on what we think should be done on the courthouse. And with that, I turn it over. Oh, schedule. You guys would like to know about the dates. We're hoping that we get approved today. We're hoping to have an executed contract by February 15th. We're hoping to do early procurement on long lead items. Equipment tends to take a long time. March through August of this year. Start construction April 15th. Finish construction July 15th of 2027 and be done. And with that, I hand it over to my colleague, Chris Berman.
Thank you. I appreciate all the technical knowledge here with the project.
Chris, you want to get right up on the microphone, please?
Can you hear me now?
There.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I'm new.
I didn't want to say anything, but we want to hear you.
Thank you. Just saying I appreciate the technical knowledge and the stewardship by my colleagues here. I'm in full support of this new plant being implemented. It's going to save us a lot of money in the long term, and through preventative actions and upstream effects, it will mitigate costs down the road for our team and staff. So thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate all the work done on this.
Excellent. Okay. Well, to the board, do we have any questions, comments, concerns about this project? Accolades? Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just really kind of bummed out that I won't be able to go during lunch and swim in the tank, so I'm going to miss that, but that's a lot of water. But yeah, that's a big worry, and when I got the tour of that probably 2 years ago, that was something that really I would assume keeps you up at night, because that's something that's just a nail biter. Something massive and terrible could happen at any time. Not to say that this is a big fear-mongering project we need to work, but it's time. And you guys have done a great job. Commissioner or Chair Senig and I, we get to serve on your facilities committee, and you guys have done a lot of research. Ameresco's been a great partner. And Chris, welcome. I think you're going to be a great partner. You bring a nice engineering brain to the table, which really helps us do that. And not to mention the cost savings that we're going to have. I tried to do the math really quick. We're not going to save as much as we're going to be paying in the debt service, but that would have been a great story, but unfortunately we can't tell that. But at least we're going to be saving enough money to offset the actual high costs of replacing that, which we have to do anyway. So good on you and all the team for allowing us to at least have that much leverage and headway to get this project to the finish line. Good work.
Okay, Vice Chair Buck.
I just wanted to comment to the fact that we know that this is so out of date, should have been done a while ago, but there's no better time than now. I appreciate your efforts in planning, because I know there's a lot of pre-planning in order to make this successful. It sounds like, perhaps, Chris, you're going to be the main person dedicated to ensuring this is seen through, so thank you for coming on board and being willing to do that. It's really a resiliency effort, right? We talk about resiliency hubs around the community, but this is one that we need here in our building as well in order to function fully as an agency for the rest of the community. So I really appreciate that part of it, knowing that without this upgrade, we are at high risk for a lot of other downstream issues, and we need to get in front of it. So I'm very supportive. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Commissioner Farr.
Thank you. This is an example of spending public money on the public good. It's a lot of money, 17 million bucks. I don't have that much I can account, nor does the public in general. So this is a long-term project with long-term repayment. 35,000 bucks a year is not, that's just an incremental, that's almost nothing compared to the price of the project. But that's not what we're looking at, is it? We're looking at the public works, public money, public resources being spent on doing the public's good. And that is what we're doing in this case. In our consent calendar, we passed a resolution on Metropolitan Wastewater Management Commission. It's an intergovernmental agreement. That's another example, another fine example of spending public money to do the public good. In many cases, the public doesn't even know what's happening. They know if it didn't happen, but they don't know that it is happening. They don't know how much is being spent on it to do their good. Whether it's wastewater, whether it's HVAC in a public building, or whether it's solid waste. Spending public money to do the public good for the long term is what we are all about. This is a fantastic project. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Trigger.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Commissioner Farr. It just, I was struggling with, is there something I have to add of value? But talking about the public good and the public asset, the equipment is a public asset as well. We often, the public is especially attentive when we're spending money and they're talking about, well, that's our dollars. What are you doing with it? But it's also our responsibility to steward the assets that we've purchased with those funds, in this case, decades ago. And I think it's really important to highlight what you said about the equipment has reached its end of useful life and is not repairable. And so our options are sit here and wait until a catastrophic failure, or fix it now. And nobody who has an asset, whether that's a car or a home or a decent pair of shoes they're going to resole because it's cheaper than buying a new pair, that is the prudent and the important thing to do to manage the public's assets, which includes the infrastructure of our many buildings and so on. So thank you for that reminder, Commissioner Farr, and I just want to expand it beyond. It's not just when we're spending dollars that we're being stewards of the public resource, it's when we're taking care of the assets, which are beyond the dollars. They're also the infrastructure. So I honestly, it sort of doesn't matter to me what I think. There is no choice here. There just isn't a choice. We must do this because I don't know if you've done any back of the napkin calculations on what it would cost to wait for catastrophic failure and then try to recover from, to repair the damage that would cause, and then we'd still need a new system. But I'm guessing it's more than what's in front of us today. Thank you.
I think one could venture to say significantly more, yes. It's these kind of decisions are, you do feel a little more at ease when you are on the facilities planning committee and these kind of things, because we learn how much research goes into this. And as Commissioner Lovell said, when you go on that tour, I mean, it's great because you're starting to understand how the system works. But when you see those giant rust barnacles hanging off the side of that tank, knowing that those could go at any time, and that's going to go into the, I mean, it's just, it is time. This stuff is to its past its, what I would say is its life expectancy. And I know that this particular issue with our building has kept a lot of people up at night and just waiting for that phone call. So I am ready to start on this project and 100% behind this. So thank you and welcome to the team. And it was the last name Ms. Berman?
Yes, sir.
Chris Berman. Okay. Nice to meet you, Chris Berman.
Nice to meet you.
And willing to entertain a motion.
All right. I'll move approval of Order 26-01-27-11 in the matter of awarding a contract amendment to Ameresco, Inc. in the amount of amount up to $17,154,962 for comprehensive construction services of the Public Service Building Central Plant upgrade and delegating authority to the county administrator to execute the contract amendment.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion moved by Vice Chair Buck and seconded by Commissioner Trieger to approve Order 2601-2711 in the matter of awarding a contract amendment to Ameresco, Inc. in the amount of $17,154,962 for comprehensive construction services of the Public Service Building Central Plant Upgrade and delegating authority to the county administrator to execute the contract. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
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 Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Welcome to the team.
I'll let you know when the tank is being removed.
It's going to be quite the show.
The event.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, I see our county clerk held on, and he is ready for 6B report. Thank you, Mr. Gong.
Great. Good morning. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and fellow commissioners. I'm here today to, give an update to all the happenings happening in the county clerk's department. And first of all, recognizing that today is Help America Vote Day, for example, to inspire civic engagement and participation in our voting processes here in Lane County. So first update would be regarding elections, and that is that as we look at our May 19th primary election, that candidate filing deadline is March 10th. And there's a new wrinkle to this in that any elected incumbent filing is due actually a week before, that'd be March 3rd. But I understand all of our incumbents that are up for re-election have filed, so that's already taken care of. More updates in terms of elections to come in future meetings. But also, I wanted to let you know that, security of elections is really a primary concern for our department. And one of the things that we're doing is we're applying for additional grants to install additional cameras for our ballot boxes. So we're looking to, I think we're covering about 5 of our boxes right now. We're looking to expand that and to be able to provide more security to our ballot drop boxes. Also, I wanted to address, I know it's been in the news about how the United States Postal Service, how they're applying, what their postmark policies are. And I wouldn't say that their business has really changed, but certainly their operations have consolidated over the years, in particular in the state of Oregon. I understand there used to be a distribution center in Eugene, but now all of our mail is going up to Portland before being processed up there before coming back to Eugene. So bottom line is that the Postal Service themselves actually was at a convening in Washington, D.C., where the actual Postmaster General was there. And he himself recommended that ballots be delivered, if you're going to use the post office, to deliver them 7 days before the election. Okay, to actually deliver them to a post box 7 days before the election, or if as late on election day that you go to the counter of a post office and ask for a hand postmark. I always call it the circle date stamp on it, so that it's actually, you can actually witness that the date is being put onto it. Otherwise, if mail is being, having to be delivered up to Eugene, to Portland, might take another day before that postmark is attached to the mail. And then also, there have been some directives given to counties for the National Voter Registration Act, and that is with the cancellation of inactive voters. So the first thing I should say is inactive voters are not sent ballots in the mail. They're on the rolls, but they are not sent ballots in the mail or anything to that effect, participating in the election. However, though, this is a common practice of canceling inactive voters who haven't voted over like 2 federal general elections. So we will be, complying, and in particular with Lane County, it's 17,047 inactive voter records that will be canceled, and that we're planning to do this. We're auditing the list that had been provided to us by the Secretary of State's office, and we intend to complete this process before this election cycle begins, so that we'll have those folks canceled. Transparency is, as I have said to you before, is is a priority for me, so that members of the public can really understand and see for themselves what we do in elections, so that they can gain confidence in our processes. So we do welcome for folks to observe our processes as ballots are being received and processed in our office. I'm also planning to have a media day, inviting members of the media to come in and to also see what we do, so that they can be, our partners in educating the public exactly what we do in elections. Shifting a little bit here will be our Property Value Appeals Board meetings that will be coming up here. They will begin on February 18th. We have all timely appeals have been received and reviewed. We're at 227 applications right now, and they will be going forward as we are processing those in February. Also, I wanted to mention, now shifting to our Deeds and Records Division, I know there have been some inquiries actually to these fellow commissioners regarding what we can do to help property owners, for example, with the fear of fraud taking place and someone being able to, possibly take ownership of their property. So I have been doing some research. There is such a thing called a property recording alert system that our recording vendor has access to. It is a service that would be free to the public, but would cost the county a little bit of money. And so we're looking into this, doing some investigation on this, and I believe we'll be taking this to the board during the budget hearings to see if that was something that the county would be interested in providing to the public. Marriage ceremonies come up next. New legislation allows people other than me to be able to conduct the marriage ceremonies. All of my staff can conduct them, and so I'm very happy to share that responsibility with my staff. And in particular, we are going to have ceremonies on Valentine's Day, and I want to promote that to the public. It's not only for new couples, but for couples who may want to renew their vows can participate. And my staff has already been preparing, very excited in preparing areas within the PSB for us to conduct those on Saturday. So making the plug for that and inviting the public to join us on that process. While we're here, I wanted to just kind of give a little bit of show and tell. This is our Book A. This is our oldest deeds book that we have in our possession. When I thumb through the pages here, the very first document was recorded in 1854, and it was a arrangement with Eugene Skinner. So it just really shows what history that we are responsible for in our department. As you might be able to see from a distance here, there's tears in the pages. There are, that we're trying to be repaired with tape. It's very fragile in the sense that we can see the fraying along the edges of the paper and the discoloration and all. These are all things that are evident that happens with a document that's over 170 years old. So I am very happy, I'm very pleased to announce that Lane County was awarded an America 250 Oregon grant in order to restore this document and restore this book by the Oregon Historical Society. It is to preserve the most historically significant vulnerable items in our records collection. This is our Book A, our oldest book. And it would include deacidifying the pages, meaning removing the acid. The acid is what actually causes the pages to deteriorate. They would be encapsulated. Each page would be encapsulated in mylar, plastic basically, and then rebound. And so I just want to show this to you now. And then when we have the completed product, I, of course, want to introduce this to you, the final product. And so it's just part of our process of being the county's historian in that way, that I'm just so proud to share this news with you, and that, we'll be, with us being the purveyors of our county archives. That's the conclusion of my update.
Well, that is excellent. That's really cool. God, we got that grant. Anybody have anything for Mr. Gong? Commissioner Farr.
Mr. Gong, I've said it before, but it's a pleasure having you here in Lane County with your history and your citation of history. You bring a lot of things to the table, far beyond the job you do. You bring more to the table. Can you say again the date on that book?
Oh, it was, it's like December, I looked at it specifically, December 4th, 18, it specifically says, in the year of our Lord, are 1,844. 1844.
So another citation of history regarding your office. Actually, the oldest building in Lane County is not your office, but it would have been if you were here in 1853 when it was built. Not long after that book was published, but the oldest building in Lane County is the old clerk's office. It's over by the Historical Museum, and it's built in 1853. So I hope you visit it sometime. I'd love to get a photograph of you in front of it. And again, you bring so much more to the table, including your professionalism on the job. I really certainly appreciate the work that you do. And keeping the elections, both in the public eye, up front, and absolutely well documented, well registered, and accurate. I remember my first election. I became a U.S. citizen in 1978, and my first election was on November 4th, 1980, and it was Jimmy Carter was running for his second term against former governor of California, Ronald Reagan, and I was standing in line waiting to vote, and somebody came by, and the Queen song, "Another One Bites the Dust," was being played. And they announced the result of the election before I got a vote, which was unfortunate. But Debbie and I, we voted. I'd been working at Jerry's all day, got off work, and went to vote. But a lot of things have happened since 1980, and a lot of accuracy in elections, what seems to be and evidently is your hallmark, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much for choosing Lane County. Thank you for coming here, and welcome. I enjoy your stay living here. Hang out in your old office, your 1853 office. It's not very big. It's about as big as this podium, I think, but welcome to Eugene, Mr. Gong. And I have a copy of your book, by the way, which I'd love for you to sign sometime.
Happy to. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Trigger.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. I feel like you should have those white archivist gloves on when you're handling the pages of that book. I was
thinking about that.
Careful. So that's really cool that it's going to get some love and preservation from the pros. Thanks for telling us about that and for bringing it. It's really cool. And I noticed Neil was able to get a close in with the camera on the actual pages so the public could see that too. That's very cool. Two brief things about elections. These postmark changes are concerning, obviously not within your purview jurisdiction decision-making, but they're unfortunate. Personally, I believe that is just one more way of disenfranchising voters to make their ballots not count. And I'm really sorry to see them. But I want to make sure every chance we get to emphasize to folks that those do not apply to our drop boxes. And that as we get closer to elections, and I know you will do this as clerks in the past have, is come back and talk to us about the integrity of protecting the ballot and the ballot handling process as it makes its way from drop boxes all over the county to the sorting and ultimately calculating machines. So when we get closer to elections, I just always want to note that our drop boxes are not subject to the U.S. Postmaster General's decisions. We manage those, and and how we do that, and also that people can still come vote in person. There is still a polling place. It is called Lane County Elections, so just always wanting to put that out there. The other piece, speaking of disenfranchisement of voters, is this inactive voter rolls. It's so important you say the rolls do not reflect who is sent a ballot, and I would imagine as well who is sent a ballot does not reflect what ballot is deemed permissible once it is received. I know we do a lot to help folks cure ballots with signature discrepancies and so on. But I wanted to get clarity on the item you said that these new rules, these federal rules, are about essentially expunging a voter from the rolls. Did I hear you say if they've not submitted a ballot if it's been 2 consecutive presidential elections that they have not submitted a ballot, they're automatically considered inactive, is that right?
Not exactly. It's 2 federal general elections, so it would be like a 4-year cycle that they've shown no activity. And I should also say it's a smaller window. It's not all voters that have been inactivated for that particular, for all purposes. These are typically the ones where we receive like a notification from the post office that they have moved or something to that effect, that their voter materials were not able to be delivered. They're undeliverable, for example. So those people that we receive what they call third-party information, meaning the post office, that they may have moved in that sort of thing. That's where we inactivate them in that process.
Thank you for that. So if they've not submitted, if they submit a ballot in an off year or in a school board, right, in the odd numbered years within that, they're still active. It's not just that they have to have participated in the election, in the general election. It's if there's any ballot activity from them, any casting about. Okay, that's great. Thank you. So then tell me again with the 17,047 Lane County voters, what umbrella are they under?
Yes, so they are inactive voters, meaning they haven't been active, they haven't been voting, over a period of time, and that they were those that were that had undeliverable mail returned to us, for example, so that we send them notifications and try to get like an updated address if that be the case. But these are those that we hadn't received any updated information from. And so they've been on the inactive rolls for, a number of years, and allowing us to be able to ultimately cancel them from the rolls then. I guess part of it is, and this was even something for me as an election official early in my career, is that very often people get confused of active, inactive, and canceled voters. And that oftentimes, for whatever reason, when somebody looks at our voter rolls, they look at our active plus our inactive roll. It's always been kind of summed up that way. But they're really technically, not on the rolls as far as in terms of being active. We don't send them voter materials. We don't send them a ballot in the mail, for example. All of those things, they're really just there where if they did show up at our voting location, that we could reactivate them in that way. So that's always kind of that confusion about where we have over-bloated rolls. Really not. I'm only really concentrating on the ones that are active and the ones that we're sending ballots to.
That last part, sending ballots to, right? So our voter rolls includes inactive voters. That doesn't mean we send ballots to inactive voters. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. Thank you for that. And then lastly, what are our obligations to retain a record? For how long do we retain a record that this person is inactive and or these folks have been canceled off of, and this is Lane County, not Oregon. We don't get to say somebody's not eligible to vote in Oregon, but these are just Lane County rules. So how long do we keep an inactive voter in the database essentially, and what happens when they move off of that into, did you say canceled is the term you
Yeah,
used?
canceled status.
Yeah, canceled status.
Yeah, so it is that process again where it depends on the situation. The ones that we're talking about right now are those that are canceled for that period where they didn't participate in 2 federal generals. So that's at least a 4-year cycle in that case. This policy, as I'm understanding it, through the news, is something that had stopped happening around 2017, 2018. So I think there's a little bit of catch up for us to do to capture those voters going that further back. For us to cancel those records as well. And so that's just the first wave of what we're doing. This is going to become a continual process for us. Every couple of years, there's going to be a process where we're canceling additional inactive voters.
Great. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Vice Chair Buck.
Thank you. Specifically about deeds and records, I am one of those has been sending the emails to you and Lauren because I get contacted somewhat more regularly now from largely older folks in the community are really scared that somebody could come and steal their house from underneath them without some kind of protection. So they've been hearing about these other systems of property sales notification types of alerts, basically. And so they're very interested. This is clearly most people's largest asset. And for that, especially after working all their lives for this property, finally own it free and clear, or even if they don't necessarily own it free and clear, have grave fear that one day they're going to lose it because somebody who's doing some nefarious activity is somehow purchased or claimed it out from underneath them. So I'm very interested in what these programs and alerting systems will be. And it sounds like we'll do that in the budgeting process, since there's usually some kind of fee for the service. But I just want to reiterate to my colleagues that I am hearing about this on a somewhat regular basis from folks. So I look forward to having that discussion.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. We've been looking into it. I've been hearing from some of our neighboring counties, throughout the state, and seeing, some of the implementation they have done in that respect, utilizing the same service that we would in that way. Yeah, I think part of the challenge on this is that, there are other paid services out there that are available, and they advertise quite a bit, to the public of the services that they offer. And so I think that's where, it is getting into the public's mind this way. But I do think that there are some things that we can implement to provide the public that alert system. It doesn't prevent fraud, but it does alert the property owner if something comes up that that might affect their property. And so, if anything, it might increase the number of phone calls to us in that way, because if they do subscribe to the service, then that if they get an alert, then that will be something of concern in that way. I will say, in my experience in California, that there have been efforts being made. Even there were some additional fees involved with recording documents, like a dollar fee that would go to the district attorney's office to prevent fraud, to prevent property fraud in this way. So, there are some innovative ways that could be employed, even in Oregon, to address the concerns of the public in this way.
Commissioner Lovell.
Yeah, you have great accolades, Mr. Gong, and I appreciate you being here. As to Commissioner Buck and I, we get some of those inquiries, and you answered my inquiry right away. So I just want to thank you in public for doing that. It made that person who inquired with me, the latest one, very comfortable that we are on it and doing something on it. So I support anything that you bring forward for us to help those folks out. So thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, I think it was about a year ago or so, Mr. Blythe and I had that conversation for the first time, and it was kind of eye-opening for us, and it's been a great conversation ever since. So I'm glad we're on that topic, because it is becoming more and more common. And yeah, great. I just want to tell you thanks for continuing on with the public transparency and bringing the public involved in this system, because every time people ask me about it, there's cameras everywhere, there's people, and come and get involved if you'd like to. So I thank you for continuing on that work. Appreciate it. Okay, well, we have a 10:45 time certain, Mr. Mokrehysky. Would you like to do a
next time he could bring the Magna Carta?
Oh,
I'll bring my copy.
would you like to do announcements, or would you want to do those later? We got.
You can do them later if you want to take. It's not going to. You don't want to listen to me for the next 4 minutes. So I would suggest.
We'll take a break.
Yeah, probably just take a break till 10:45.
Okay, we will recess until 10:45 time certain. For our 10:45 work session with Travel Lane County, we're going to talk about our indoor multi-sport facility development. Am I going to hand this over to Mr. Mokrehysky or Mr. Adams?
Mr. Adams is going to kick us off.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mokrehysky,
You're it.
Chair, Vice Chair, Commission. Good morning. I'm Steve Adams, Policy Director, and I am a very poor substitute for Jason Harris this morning. Our Community Economic Development Director is within the jury pool right now, doing his civic duty. So I am here really just to introduce my colleagues, Samara Phelps and Corey Buller, to continue a conversation that the board initiated or gave staff direction to continue before the holidays. So here we are. So with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Ugly Samara.
Yeah, great. Are you gonna drive for me?
I am your driver, yes.
Okay,
That
great.
is my principal.
These are the important things to
value
get
add
figured out to
this
get
morning.
settled in. Thank you for the warm introduction. Thank you for the time today, Chair and Commissioners. Samara Phelps, President and CEO of Travel Lane County, and when I was last in front of you was in October when we were talking about some initial studies that we had done around a multi-use indoor sports facility. And some updated research. So what we're here to do today is to share a little bit about what we've learned since we were last together and how we've arrived at kind of a natural decision point for how a next step and how to move forward. We'll start by telling you why this issue matters to the county, summarizing the exploratory phase that has established the definitions of this project, and also to explain why this collaborative approach that we're in front of you today towards decision-grade feasibility is a logical next step. Next slide, please. We're here because Lane County, Travel Lane County, and community partners share an interest in the economic stability, particularly during the winter months when visitor activity consistently dips. We talk about this in front of you every time we're in front of you. That seasonal volatility affects local businesses, hospitality workers, and the overall performance of the visitor economy. Over time, it becomes clear that marketing alone could not fulfill or address this repeated pattern, which is why we've brought forward additional tools to be explored. This matters to us because winter performance plays an outsized role in the stability of the visitor economy here in Lane County. Stronger winter weekends help businesses retain the staff and plan year-round operations. Because visitor-generated funding is already a part of the county's economic framework through transient lodging tax, this work explores whether there is a way to use that framework thoughtfully to support stability and long-term sustainability, strengthening the fund and community vibrancy. So this work was grounded in a clear community need. Lane County is severely underbuilt when it comes to indoor court space, particularly during the winter, so indoor space. Kids, families, and community sports groups often have limited options for practice and play. Lane Event Center, Master Plan, and community engagement surface these needs and interests in the community, along with the potential that the Lane Event Center incorporate sports facilities into their master planning processes. Go ahead and advance the slide. Great. A multi-use indoor facility could support daily community use. As one commissioner noted, it represents an opportunity to explore something positive and visible that people can actually enjoy. And thank you to all the commissioners who have engaged in discussions and shared your insights since our last presentation. Next slide, please. So the exploratory phase is where we were at when we last spoke and what we're here reporting on. It was designed to answer a narrow question. Is the concept defined and credible enough to justify a deeper decision grade analysis? The goal was not to choose a site or funding, but to reduce the uncertainty and report back with verified information before asking for any further actions. Exploratory work and public conversations about this project surfaced a lot of interest in the project from both community leaders and potential users of the facility. For easy access to information and the latest activity, we've created a website to keep doing updates around this so that it's not just every few months when we're able to be in front of you, and that's eugenecascadescoast.org/facilities. Next slide, please. So, the process. When we presented in October, the work with Sports Facilities Company, I'll refer to them as SFC because, you know, we all love a good acronym, confirmed that the market demand to support a facility and define the size and the attributes of that facility that would generate the overnight stays and economic activity needed for Travel Lane County to continue valuing this project. So since that presentation, SFC, our new favorite acronym, looked at operational sustainability of a facility and economic impact. So we want to go to the next slide, please. So that looked at what had changed since these studies had been done previously around what facilities exist in our market and regionally. Because for it to generate the overnight stays that we want, we do need a scale and a size that is a regional sports tourism draw. And so when you look at this, you see that Rogue X in Medford, which is new since we originally started talking about this in our community, is about 160 miles away. And then the next facility is 187 miles away in Centralia, Washington. So there is a gap in the geography that is helps supporting this demand, even after we've seen more sports facilities develop. Next slide, please. So, an operationally sustainable facility could be supported through market demand. And what they've been able to share with us is that some of this recommended programming would go into that operationally sustainable facility. Since we don't have renderings or a site, we thought we would use some of these slides that we'll quickly go through to represent the kind of activation. So we talk about basketball courts as a unit of measurement that represents the flat floor space for a variety of activities. And these slides show what activation of that flat floor space could look like besides a basketball game. This variety of programming supports the tournaments and the community uses that support the business model that make this operationally sustainable. So court space, as you see here, also equals mat space for flat floor activities and the potential for trade shows or expos, that type of thing, and meeting an event space, but at a kind of expo large scale like that. Next slide, please. It also has the ability to incorporate turf, which would be indoor soccer, lacrosse, that type of thing. Next slide. And then flex team rooms, the ability to have space for the teams to meet in. If you have anyone who is in club sports and travel ball, you know that you can really differentiate a facility on how well it actually facilitates more than the actual sport itself. So flex team rooms both give the opportunity to differentiate this facility as really being effective and efficient at hosting tournaments, but also provides space that could be rented out for smaller meetings and events that would help support some of the revenue model. Next slide, please. So the key insights. The SFC's findings show this model to be operationally sustainable at 3 years if operated by a third party. And they distinguish two models in this initial exploratory work that we did. Third party is essentially a private entity that is an expert in facility management, and a public entity are the two models that were used. There's obviously ranges of collaboration within that. But so at 3 years, the idea is you get more efficiency if you have an entity that is an expert in this and can bring that into market faster, we mature faster, and get a greater economic impact of about $21 million when it reaches maturity. The economic impact, if it is operated by a public entity, is still around $14 million of economic activity at maturity, but the third party is the most effective for that economic impact. It also generates 28,000 additional room nights. So like many facilities of this size, this does not include paying down the cost of the capital. It just means that once we get to that maturity stage, it can support itself ongoing. That capital investment for infrastructure remains to be solved. Next slide, please. So we're talking about, in this exploratory analysis, a baseline facility for tournaments that includes that 8 basketball court size with flexibility to be 16 volleyball courts. And this moves this project from a general idea to a defined physical program that can be evaluated for cost, site, funding, and benefits, as well as operational models. And I want to take a minute for us to just address why we're looking at sport. It has been discussed in community that we need a lot of different kinds of facilities. We need fields for kids to practice on and to host tournaments. We need indoor space for a variety of uses. Traveling County is leaning into indoor sport because indoor sport directly addresses the problem that we're trying to solve, which is indoor tournaments are not weather dependent. They attract families that can do multiple nights of stay. They generate predictable weekend demand, and they are also a logical category for us to stabilize that winter overnight, which is a very specific area of demand that we're trying to get to. And also youth and amateur sports have proven to be very recession proof as a market. So whereas we see some of the other uses or potential facilities, we have a greater risk in that. So we've narrowed it down to sport because of that viability. Next slide. So what do we know? The SFC's analysis from the fall shows that a facility reaching maturity in 3 years, and this is a strong indicator of just how viable this is in our market if we could get it built. These examples don't predict the outcomes here, but they do demonstrate that the model is viable enough to be evaluated here locally. Next slide. And community benefit. Beyond the visitor impacts, which is what I'm here to be focused on and advise on, the exploratory work did confirm a documented shortage of indoor court space for local athletes. A multi-use facility of this scale could support weekday community as well as that weekend tournament that I'm advocating for, creating a year-round value for our residents as well as visitors. And I know that a regional impact is really important to this board and for any investments that we are making as a community entity. And so this facility, while it does need to be built within 30 minutes of I-5 to really meet those market demands, the facility will improve the access of places to play, practice, and compete for families and residents of Lane County and throughout the region. Because as we saw, we're 160 miles from our nearest facility like this for folks who are engaging in these sports. Next slide. Okay, so that gets us to the background. And what that background really showed us was a viable opportunity. The question is, how can we make that possible in our community? And there's a lot of big questions in that. What it identified is that we have this opportunity, but we also have these questions. One of the most important findings is that these 4 components, ownership, operations, site, and funding, are all entwined as questions. We can't really study one without studying the other. They're like the dials on this project's dashboard. A little bit more public, what does that do to access to funding? A little bit more private involvement, what does that do to impact? What does that do to funding? So we've really narrowed this down to the scope of the program that we think should be evaluated, and now we need to look at all 4 of these components to figure out if this is something that we really want and can get done in our community. So the case studies have shown that projects like this involve some level of the public and the private. And so that's why we're here moving forward with the idea of a collaborative approach to this analysis so that we can really look at all 4 of these components and have informed decisions about what is right for our community. So the next slide, please. All the models that we have range from all public owned, public operated, public built, to the ability for it to be an all private. What does our market sustain for that? what we hear is that in almost all communities, there's some version of public-private that's happening. And which models we use will give different risks and different benefits. And so that's why we're wanting to embrace this as it's complicated. Let's start piecing it out and understanding the parts that we. Next slide, please. Okay, so the limits of this analysis have been that it's been exploratory. It cannot determine specific site opportunities or limitations, the costs of what are under any defined circumstances, and which ownership and funding models and structures are appropriate in this community. So answering those questions requires this idea of decision grade feasibility work and analysis together. Slide, please. So what do we mean when we talk about decision grade feasibility as the next step? Decision grade feasibility is the point where site-specific evaluation, verified cost estimates, operational modeling, and ownership and funding considerations can be integrated into a single body of work, which is required when we have this dashboard of dials that we're working for. Next slide. So far, this work has been conducted in collaboration with your staff here at the county. And from the beginning, we've been engaging in those discussions. Travel County participated in the Lane Event Center work that Corey's team led. We also had this opportunity this year. Our board, as Travel County, adopted a facilities roadmap to really prioritize asking these questions for our community. Can we solve some of this winter demand through a facility? And in addition to the work that the Sports Facility Company has been doing for us, and part of that exploratory phase, Travel County has been evaluating numerous potential sites throughout the county for new build and adaptive reuse. Many locations were screened out due to the location, infrastructure limitations, timing, or feasibility constraints. And at this point, the former Royal Caribbean site does still remain the location that is sufficiently advanced in that evaluation process to be considered for for the repurpose, while the Lane Event Center remains the strongest candidate for a purpose-built new construction site. So site-specific analysis will allow us a relevant and decision-grade feasibility process while remaining open to the other locations should they become ready. That does not predetermine any one outcome or commit us to building a facility. So that's the frame up to get us to what we've worked together with staff on, which is this idea of a joint approach as the next step. The proposed decision grade facility work carries a not to exceed cost of up to $450,000 for analysis of site, funding, owner, and operator analysis. This cost covers professional services and technical analysis only and is proposed as a shared effort between Travel Lane County as well as the Lane County itself. So your, as Lane County, not to exceed amount would be $225,000, and we're asking the same of our board at Travel Lane County. Next slide, please. So to do this work, to evaluate any site at decision grade level, some form of site access is required to conduct due diligence and technical analysis. Lane Event Center obviously already has the access to the site and the ability to do that analysis. And Travel Lane County has advanced private evaluation through those site recommendations. And if facility or feasibility for a facility proceeds, it will take, we as Travel Lane County will take on responsibility for arrangements at the former Royal Caribbean property or other private properties that are being evaluated so that it can be evaluated alongside any other options from the public sector. This does not represent site selection, nor does it commit the county to a development decision. It just levels our access to information gathering for informed analysis. Because the last thing any of us want are studies that don't lead to informed decisions. Great. So that's really what we are here in front of you today, is with that proposal for joint work going forward to continue to evaluate this. And it matters to the county that we explore these potential strategies that could support the winter economic stability that I come and I talk about every time, as well as meeting community needs. And if it proves feasible, it could result in something that's really exciting for this community and is unmatched in our current facility offerings. So authorizing a decision-grade feasibility process preserves your oversight. It engages collaboration across multiple entities, and it gives us a chance to have verified information rather than assumptions about what's possible. So with that, thank you for letting me walk us through a structure to get us on the same page. I'd love for Corey to have a chance to add anything that needs to be clarified about the alignment with the Lane Event Center work, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Good morning. Thank you. Thanks, Mara. Thanks, Chair, Commissioners, for this opportunity and coming back and continuing this discussion that's, I know Commissioner Farr and many others know has been going on for many, many, many years in various different forums and in different ways. So a lot of the work and material that she's talking about directly will relate to any decision, that happens at the Lane Event Center and Lane County Fairgrounds. So that background work in terms of feasibility and cost analysis and ownership and operations and any impacts will all have to be analyzed if our site is the one that's selected or is selected for that type of work. We do have a lot of additional work going on in the background. As you guys remember, we came back to you guys last year with our community visioning report, and this was one of the items that we were asked to continue looking at, as well as additional opportunities. So we're doing some of that background work, trying to get some data and analysis and some cost estimates for everything from site access and accessibility and landscaping, and you name it, we're looking at everything. And we'll try to bring all that stuff back together when we come back with the master plan consultant here later this year and try to tie it all into an entire plan. But this background work does need to happen. That will feed into that plan or any of those decisions in the background as well.
Maybe I would just add here, and then we'll turn it back over to you, Chair and Commissioners, for comments and questions. To be really clear, this is an update, and we're looking for head nods from commissioners to engage in this partnership. We did at the staff level sort of go back and forth about what scenarios in which we could engage in this type of an agreement. And we've landed on what is being proposed to you today, which is truly a share. I mean, it's all coming from the same place. We fund Travel Lane County with transient lodging taxes. We collect transient lodging taxes to fund Travel Lane County and to provide services such as the Lane Event Center and parks and the History Museum. So it's coming, the funding will come from that place, but this proposal is 50% of the cost funded through Travel Lane County's resources that are passed through from the county, and then 50% from our transient lodging tax infrastructure reserve. The other thing I think you've heard this both from Samara and from Corey, but I'll reiterate, this is not a siting decision, so we know that there are sites. You've heard the discussion about the consideration of the Royal Caribbean facility, as well as the Lane Event Center. Certainly when the board implemented the additional 2 points of transient lodging tax, you indicated a desire to invest those resources in the Lane Event Center. That's a choice that the board can make. This is not a decision about that. So to be clear, this is to look at all the things that were talked about: ownership, operation, the feasibility of this facility, regardless of where it is ultimately located. The decision about location, the extent to which Lane County would invest in the siting, in the actual facility and the siting, that's a decision that would come before the board at a future time. I think I'll stop there and just turn it over, Chair, for comments and questions.
Okay, excellent. Yes, and thanks for that clarity. That was one of the things I was wondering. Appreciate that. To the board, any questions? What are we thinking? What direction we want to go here? Mr. Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. No questions at this point in time. We sat last week and talked about a lot of the details, Samara, and you've answered a lot of my questions, and the questions have been asked and answered through the years regarding the need for this facility, the type of activity that's going to take place there. I remember playing indoor soccer in gymnasiums where we put pieces of plywood on the corners so the ball didn't get stuck in the corner. You know, it's just exciting for me to be able to offer this kind of an opportunity for future generations. And Corey, you know, you've been involved with sports at just about every single level here in Lane County. You understand as well as we all do the need for this facility. What I wanted to talk about more was the partnership that we have and how trusted partnership. You know, when we go into into an enterprise or into a study, which this would be with a partner, we really want to know that the people we're working with we can trust. We get accurate information and we have the same common goal. All of those boxes that are checked for me on this one. To me, it's just a simple matter of head nods on this part to say, yes, 2.25 is a lot of money, but what are we going to get for that investment? A tremendous amount of information, which will help this or perhaps a future board to make a decision as to how to move forward and the best way to move forward with this. So you have my head nod on this. If head nods are what we need today, Mr. Mokrajewski, mine's already been provided. I'm showing my hand right now. It's a royal flush and it's a head nod. So thanks for the information, and it really is an ongoing discussion that we have. And I think of all of the different things. I hadn't even thought about the team rooms that you're talking about, the place for, you know, how often have you, Corey, you travel with your kids to sports events all over. How often have you just wished there was a place you could gather, or a number of teams could gather?
It's invaluable when you're traveling and you're dealing with food and bags and gear and things like that. Having a place set aside like that it's invaluable.
Well, the back of my minivan doesn't accommodate all the things that are needed. So once again, I'll look at the rest of the board. First head nod is right here. I'm looking forward to what we find out, because whether it's a Royal Caribbean site, a different something off of Beltline Road on West 11th, or whether it's the event center, we'll find out more in not too distant future through this study. So Samara, thank you for joining us here in Lane County.
Yeah, absolutely. Vice Chair Buck.
Thank you. Thank you for the proposal. I have a couple of questions. The first you touched on briefly, which was the regional aspect of the proposed facility. You know, we have a large rural area in Lane County. They're going to want to know, okay, is this investment going to reach out to them in some way? Could you talk a little bit more about how, say, folks in South Lane could actually be impacted by this particular project? There's often that question of, well, the money just goes to the Metro Center and not reaching those rural communities. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think the regional question is really, really important. There's three aspects to it. There's the thing that I hit every time I'm here, which is about that stability of our visitor economy, our ability to fill that winter trough definitely will advance and sustain the visitor economy that we all benefit from regionally. That's the things that come into town and can fill up a town. They keep our employees employed. So there's that basic system part of the answer. And then there's the human part of the answer. And the human part of the answer is that this facility is going to be able to be a resource for families outside of the metro area. We see participants in sports here in the metro area from all over Lane County and beyond the boundaries of Lane County, actually, that come and practice and play here. So we know that there are families that this directly impacts. And from the tournament perspective, the tournament where that team gets to travel to you and your home court, even if you're from Florence or South County, will feel a lot more like home when it's here in Lane County than it does if you're traveling to Medford or Washington to do that play.
I appreciate that, because I do believe that that question will come up throughout the process. So being able to convey the impact to areas outside the Metro Center will be important, and making that tangible for them. That may not be necessarily the technical scope of what we're talking about today, but it is going to be part of the discussion in the community throughout the process. So knowing that that is on the table, we should make sure that that's clear going forward. I absolutely understand the need for these particular things. I'm looking at the list of primary uses and revenue streams. And, you know, we got volleyball, pickleball, mat sports, trade shows. And we actually have quite a few folks in town that do all of these things really, really well. We've got Taekwondo, we've got club sports, kids sports. Like, I know my kid, my nieces and nephews, friends' kids. We're always fighting for space for these things. So the need is tangible, and I absolutely understand that. And I think this next question is really how this coordinates with the master planning at the Lane Event Center specifically, because all the bucket of money is the TLT money. It's the same bucket of money, right? So there's going to be opportunities for the community to weigh in through this master planning process. So how, I know that a potential site is a Lane Event Center, likely a new build, it sounds like. And there were other options for folks during that community event, convention space, hotel space, et cetera. So how is it coordinating with that effort? Are we going to be presented with potential feasibility studies for some of these other efforts as well? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, that would be the goal. We do have some of that work starting in the background. It was a little difficult through the holiday season here to get any movement on it, but we do have some site-specific as well as some potential future facility improvement-specific feasibilities kicking off at the same time. The goal would be, or the hope would be, that we would get some of that information around some of the same timelines so that then we could, you know, have that information available for you guys, so you're not making decisions and assumptions in the dark. I don't have specific timelines yet. I do know that at least on some of the material, I think I can get some draft material back by April for some updates, but I don't have really good grasp on it all yet.
That's really helpful knowing that this work, the timeline for the work, I'm guessing is going to be a 6-month-ish timeline for the feasibility analysis.
Yeah, I think we can have update once we get a consensus. If this is a joint effort and project, we'll start to design the scope so that it has information points. But I think overall it is a 6-month process, and we can probably have additional information kind of in 6-week increments along that path. To Corey's point about, you know, there may be things that emerge relatively quickly as decision gates, right? So the whole scope that's been proposed to you is designed to be an up to so that we can keep making informed decisions by what we learn through the process. So I think 6-week increments for updates and 6 months for this to be an executed scope.
Excellent.
And that's pretty close to what we would be looking at. About June would be a goal for kind of getting some design concepts, ideas, costing estimates, and feasibility reports back.
And it sounds like that'll dovetail with some of these other analysis at the event center at the same time.
That would be the goal.
Very good. Well, you have my support. I appreciate it, and interested in the future discussions.
Okay. I haven't seen a head nod over there, or a notion yet.
Okay.
Commissioner Trigger.
Thank you.
Yes.
Chair, thank you for the presentation. I'm also supportive of moving forward with this next step, right? It's always about just do the next thing. I was looking at your slides. I've just been really landing on this decision grade feasibility. You can have feasibility studies all you want, but a decision grade feasibility is exactly what we need. So we're not entering into call the process of fire-ready aim in carrying out projects. So we need that. We need a decision grade. We need it at the county, Travel Lane needs it, and the community needs it. So thank you for that phrase. And I'm guessing, I'm hoping, because it's not site-specific, it's going to give us a couple of different models, right? Am I following what you're saying? It's not going to be the feasibility, it's not going to land on this is the feasible way forward. It's going to say, here's what public-private, here's what all private, here's what all public, here's what this site, here's what that site, here's what's not tied to a site, but just what we know. We're going to get that kind of crosswalk or matrix of things to consider, right?
Yeah.
Great.
So the idea is that we're going to be able to get some considerations because there are some policy direction components to this as well, as was mentioned in the bucket of money, the priorities for the locations, those types of things. So yes, it is not to give us the model, it's to give us tools that would be in our toolkit and a comparative analysis of if we activate this way, pros and cons. If we activate that way, pros and cons, so that then that can be an informed decision grade decision.
And so one of those tools is the transient lodging tax dollars, both those that we've accumulated since taking the vote to increase and those moving forward, but it's not presuming any particular amount of that is used at all, or if so, how much or which, right? It's just, that's just one more tool. We're not driving this from, here's how much we have in this bucket.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So I would, with the caveat that the analysis will be informed by what we know, that there's a 2% infrastructure piece. So then the question becomes, is it a 0.5% of that? Is it so it will definitely contemplate those things. It does not prescribe those things.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Buck hit on, but I'm going to pick it back up, this, how does this sort of crosswalker relate to the work we've already got underway with the Lane Event Center specifically and the hotel feasibility that we directed, as well as the other work Corey mentioned around landscaping, site access, the continual improvements we're doing to that property. But so it's good to hear that we might know a little more from Corey and his team as soon as April, because that's early enough to then, right, the sort of flow chart of if yes, then, if no, then, where are we going, and how these two things interrelate is really going to matter. Because we've always known that Lane Event Center plan, it's not a plan the whole 50-plus acre campus, get all the resources in place and do it. It's going to be a phased approach, and any given phase is going to be part of informing the next phase. Whether those are, I don't want to call them minor, but less substantive things like around site access or landscaping or larger catalyzing capital projects. It's just going to be sort of an iterative phased approach. So I just want to I will be looking at this study to see, is this a catalyzing opportunity, or while it may seem great and pencils, also becomes very limiting for what else we might do on that campus. So I'll be looking at it with that lens as well. I think my only concern, and again, I'm guessing this will be part of what this study will show, is I am 100% sold on the need for more local sport practice and game space. My kids are long out of the youth sport game, but I had a gymnast and a soccer player with a little Babe Ruth thrown in. So I know the challenges for both indoor-outdoor sport. But I'm still not clear on what is the feeder region, and are we not just then creating competition with Medford? There's a limited market for these things. So are we just trading off, cutting some other facility out? You know, is there more business than there is a place to do it really, or are we shifting away from some other communities? How do we know what that looks like? So I'll be very curious to hear that. Essentially, how much does this generate opportunity for new activity, and from how far afield? Because to Commissioner Buck's point, we want this community to know this is their site, but it has to draw from a broader area, or it doesn't meet your goals as a destination marketing and tourism entity for those room nights. Because I know even, again, soccer tournaments, gymnastics, we would schlep back and forth rather than, the gas money was still less than the hotel and the food, and to be able to sleep in our own bed and not have to get a pet sitter was easier for a weekend tournament, even sometimes as far away as, Tacoma, and certainly, the greater Portland area. So I want to be really sure that whatever model we're putting together, if those broader economic impacts and driving those shoulder season room nights and so on is real. I have no doubt that it's going to help meet a local need in a huge way.
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and also the attention to detail and the visioning that we're really talking about this in a long-term benefit and market. And that is where we as Travel Lane County felt really confident in this exploratory phase with the work with Sports Facility Company, because they do this work. And so in terms of that analysis, their other arm of the business model is to be one of those third-party managements. So take that as a piece of information for the steady work, but it also leads to conservative models, because they're ultimately wanting to be held on the hook to be able to deliver on those things. So when we talk about the market, the reach, the impact, all of that, the calculations for families that are like your family and are going to be we peanut butter and jelly it and come back, are taken into consideration through real practical how families and teams are booking into these tournaments in kind of a real time as a facility operator. So Sports Facility Company was a good partner in getting that, and that's a level of integrity that we need to keep pushing.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair Senega. We've been talking about this for quite a while. You've been here, this is what, your fourth time in the last 6 months? So I'd like to kind of maybe challenge the board a little bit. This is a work session, and I think the work that I would like to see us do as a board is to give you the best tool possible, that when you leave here, we could move this whole thing forward rather than talk about it at another date. So that's kind of where my head's at. We've had a lot of these data points that have been asked as questions as far as regional reach and feasibility of economics and all these drivers I've heard since I've been here. So I think many of these questions are answered. So I guess what I want to do, Mr. Mokrzycki, rather than just do head nods, is ask the burning question is, what directive can we as a board do today to move this forward? Because as I look at this, and Samara, thank you for including me in all this process as being one of the board members, we basically have 3 sites we're dealing with. And that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about the West Eugene site, possibility of building new at the Lane Event Center, and the Royal Caribbean site. Those are really the decision-making sites that we have on our table right now to make educated decisions. And we can't do that unless we put effort and some skin in the game, as we call it, and some money and some serious due diligence. So that's really where we're at. And I would hope, Mr. Mokrzycki, from today, we could, rather than just give head nods and a promissory note to our great colleagues here that have done a lot of the work and continue to do the work, that not just talk about it again in April, but have some solid information, decision grade information, as you called it, which I think is a great a name, have decision grade material that we could actually make a decision. Yes, one of those sites works. This is why. This is the best approach. It could be public-private. We had a lady testify this morning that says she has a facility that I've looked at personally a couple of times. It meets about 90% of the goals. It's not quite there, but if we're dealing with trying to find the cheaper set of eggs to do something right away, to move this ahead forward, because if we don't move it forward, I've got a lot of thoughts in my head about, we could talk about this for another year and then be out of market reach because we waited too long and someone else beat us to the punch. So that's where I'm struggling with right now. And as a board member and a member of this board, I'd like to see us make a motion today to move the request forward of the funds that they're asking for, to have $225,000 taken out of our county TLC or TLT reserves, and acknowledging the fact that Travel Lane County is coming to the table with the other half is a big acknowledgement. And with those pieces in motion, then by the chance Mr. Bueller comes back with his information, we will have 2 pillars of solid information that we can make some really serious, educated decisions on to actually move this needle forward. A lot to think about. Your thoughts, Mr. Mokreisky?
Yeah, that's what you're asking for, is direction from the board on moving forward with this partnership. So would love to see you approve that.
I'd love to make a motion, Chair, if you're prepared to have one. I'd love to after your comments.
Yes. Well, I will give you my head nod. I'm very excited about this project and would love to see and come back in June with some of these informed decision grade decision, as Samara said, because I think we are ready for that next big step. So I'm encouraged, and pretty sure we could all sit here and talk about the need for more club here, and it's exciting to see a board of 5 that are just excited to continue moving on with the project. So I don't know, is it you actually need a motion or just a head nod?
Yeah, we don't.
Kind of my
Just to be
direction.
clear, I have the authority to execute up to $250,000. So the dollar amount isn't the issue. It was more, do you agree with moving forward with this partnership? The original request was the county fund the entire amount. And so what we came to the table and agreed to is say, let's do a joint partnership. Let's actually make this so that Traveling County and Lane County are in this together, holding hands, marching, and trying to understand what the feasibility of this potential long-term investment would be. In terms of the siting, again, that's a future decision. There's a lot of information that needs to be determined before you can make a determination about how to invest any public dollars in particular. So our hope is that when we come back, we'll have more information that will help move you in that direction. Today, I think it's certainly sufficient just to give head nods to say, yep, we support moving forward with this direction.
And,
Yeah, I think is what we're, go.
Sorry, and if I may, and I think maybe we can bifurcate this in light of, there is the matter of modification of the existing grant agreement, which we do need to take care of. And so, you know, I think procedurally, staff were thinking we would bundle this and move this forward for future board action, but we could take these as separate pieces, right?
Yeah, just clarity, there is some cleanup that needs to be done as it relates to the grant agreement with Traveling County, that there was a little bit of a jump the gun on the Traveling County's investment of $2 million in their budget set aside for infrastructure. We need to amend the agreement that Lane County has with Traveling County to allow for that. That also includes their proposed investment of $225,000. So that also needs to come back for some approval, ratification from you, as well as the head nods today.
Okay.
Can I ask a point of order question on that?
Yeah, please do,
So
Commissioner.
are you saying if we could give a bundled direction to work on the contract revision language and approve moving forward with this jointly, and then, but then the contract amendment would come back as a separate item because we gave the direction to do the revision? Right, great, thank you.
That's why we scheduled this as a work session to say, here's the plan, here's what needs to happen. If you support this, head nods, great, so you don't need a motion today.
Commissioner Farr.
Thanks. You know, I'm cool with the motion anyway because it seems to a little bit more solid. Head nods are great. And I don't think the net result is any different, but it feels like more of a commitment from this side of the podium that if it does come in the form of a motion, which I'd support that motion if it had come forward. I don't think you need it. Mr. Mokreisky, you didn't even need to come to us today. But this is a part of the trusting teamwork that we're solidifying. And it really does feel just like that. For that reason, I'm cool with the motion. If that moves forward, I would second such a motion and I'd vote on it. And I think the net result is the same. And a part of that motion, I would ask Mr. Mokreisky is to come back with the revised contract language, whatever that may be. We can't approve that without seeing it, obviously. So, Chair, I'm yes motion, no motion, your choice.
Well, if we have somebody that would like to make a motion, we can, or we can move ahead with head nods. It was your.
Well, I think the reason that I was going to make a motion was to Commissioner Farr's point, is put a timeline on this. We can't continue to talk about this with 3 sites in the balance. I mean, someone could come and buy the Royal Caribbean site. Someone could come and buy Cynthia's site in West County, and then we'd be back to square one, dealing with the Lane Event Center, trying to figure out how to build it from square one, which is going to cost us twice as much money. So there is a pace and a momentum that needs to be maintained. That was my point in trying to get a motion, because I just don't want to come back and talk about this 10 weeks again. I want to come back 10 weeks and say, we got half the feasibility study done and this is the direction we're heading. I just finished a feasibility study on a large project in Douglas County, and they got it done in 6 weeks. And now we have a clear direction of where we're going. So I think the feasibility study in 6 months is ample, maybe too much time. And I'd like to see us stay on this horse and ride it a little swifter, honestly. So if a motion would help us move forward, I'm happy to make one, Chair.
I just want to be clear, we don't have cost estimates for any of the sites that are being considered, Royal Caribbean, the other site, which I'm not familiar with, and then Lane Event Center. So I want to be clear, just because it was stated that it would cost twice the amount to go to Lane Event Center. We don't have any information to know what the cost at the Royal Caribbean would be versus the cost at Lane Event Center. So part of what we're trying to do with all of this work is develop that information, do that analysis with good facts and data, and then bring that to you in a public meeting so that you can start making some decisions.
Yeah, I'm not sensing urgency, I'm sensing excitement, people wanting to keep this thing moving, so that's what we're trying to get to. Yes, Commissioner Trieger.
Thank you. Yeah, another procedural point of order, and this may be for our county council. It's just so unusual. We often are asked to give direction, and it seems like you have unanimous direction to move forward with what's being asked. And so I'm not sure what a motion achieves that doesn't, and I've never seen us have a motion and take a vote without a board order in front of us. So if the interest is just to very vocally, clearly, affirmatively have each commissioner state, I support giving direction, we can do that, but that's my procedural question for our county council. If we go down the path of a motion and a vote, what?
Chair Seneca and Commissioner Trieger, actually Lane County Code Section 2.005.005 states that all formal action by the board shall be in the form of an ordinance or order except where otherwise required by law. So your recollection is correct. Our code basically says if you're going to take a formal action, you need an order or an ordinance. So we can come back next week with a formal order if y'all want to do that, or if you just want to give head nods as a go-ahead. But I was going to raise this issue because I searched for an order and there's no order here.
But the contract amendment will come back as an order in the course of things, but by giving direction today, this work starts the minute we've given that direction, rather than waiting for an order to come back for the staff to be freed to take action. So we're actually expediting by giving direction today, not by making a motion, waiting for a motion and an board order accompanying that motion.
Okay, well, Commissioner Farr, go ahead.
Well, in rules of order, a motion can be made anytime and seconded and voted on anytime. But that being said, what we're going to come up with at the end of the day is slide 18, decision grade feasibility on site-specific evaluation, verified cost and operations, integrated ownership, defensible information. That's what we're getting at the end of the day, however we move forward with it. So you've got the head nods. I think whether or not we have a motion, if Lane Code states that we typically have an order, let's not have a motion. But
only in relation to a formal action. So if the purpose of the motion was to have the board take a formal action, as in set deadlines, do anything like that, you really would need an order.
Let's not argue anymore. Let's just move forward. Slide 18, yes.
Yeah, this is a great problem to have. Everybody's excited and wants to see this thing moving forward as efficiently as we can. So I think we have head nods. We're good with head nods for now, and then we can't wait to see you back.
I will be back with decision grade information
Yes,
and a staff team.
for a decision, great decision.
Great work, Samara. You guys are doing a great job over there. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah, thank you all for the time today and the investment of your time, wisdom, and talents to get it moving forward.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Moker-Heisky, do you want to wait till after our recess for announcements, or would you like to do that now?
I'm happy to do it now. A couple things. I just let's see. The Eugene Chamber Celebration of Business was last week, and you likely, for those of you that were able to attend, heard folks talking about the South Willamette Valley Innovation Corridor, Elevate Eugene, Onward Eugene, South Willamette Valley Innovation Corridor. These are all efforts that are really partnerships between Eugene and Springfield, Lane County, the University of Oregon, and our business community. And so I just wanted to flag this for you all, particularly the South Willamette Valley Innovation Corridor. This is a group that is convened by University of Oregon President Carl Schultz. And it's co-chaired by President Carl Schultz and Jordan Papay, the CEO of the Papay Group. They've convened a group of local leaders to build a model around economic development in partnership with Oregon State University, Benton County, and the business community there to really look at this South Willamette Valley as an innovation corridor with the investments that are happening at Oregon State University and the night campus investments that are happening here at the University of Oregon. So I've been asked to serve on that board, the South Willamette Valley Innovation Corridor, along with the Eugene and Springfield Chambers, the mayors from Eugene and Springfield, and 3 or 4 private sector individuals and CEOs in the community and the president of the University of Oregon. So that work is happening and there's a lot of energy there to really look at what can we do as a region to invest in our local economy, really looking at industrial land readiness. And so I wanted to just make the board aware of that effort, that I'm participating in that effort on behalf of Lane County, on behalf of all of you. I'm also on the Onward board. Onward is the Eugene Chamber's regional economic development work. So I'm serving on both of those, and I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that related to economic development work. I know that economic development is a priority for this board, and so I'm engaging in that way as a reflection of your priorities. I think that's it. There has been some reporting on recent federal legislation related to the Interior Appropriations Act that was approved, I think it was about a week ago or so, related to timber funding. We're still working to unpack all of that and really understand what the potential impact is for Lane County. So you may have seen some reporting on that in Lookout Eugene. It's a 1-year approval, and so we think it's generally good news. We just don't know exactly what the impact to Lane County will be, and it's a short-term impact. So we're trying to understand if we can opt out of SRS just for 1 year, because SRS was approved in a 3-year package, and so you have to be able to either you accept SRS or you accept timber harvest. So in order to capture the potential benefits of that 1 year, we have to determine whether or not we can opt out of just 1 year of SRS. So all of that is being evaluated, but I just want to make sure that the board is aware of the work we're doing to work with both our federal delegation and understanding that, and the Association of ONC Counties staff. We've been reaching out to the Association of ONC Counties staff to try to get information to better understand what the impacts are. And as soon as we have a better handle on that, certainly as part of our budget process, we will bring that forward to the board so that you have the facts in front of you, and that's what we're trying to resolve. That's, I think that's what I wanted to share with you today, but happy to answer any questions if you have.
Any questions for the county administrator? Okay, seeing none, we will take a recess and we will re-adjourn at 1:30 p.m. here in Harris Hall.